It's strange the things you remember about your first job, like the smell of pencil shavings or the way the fluorescent lights buzz just a little too loud when no one else is around. I was 24, fresh out of college, and landed a temporary night security position at Langford High School in northern Michigan. The district had been trying to save money and decided one guard per shift was enough. Not ideal, especially considering the size of the school, but the job paid well, and I wasn't picky. Langford wasn't a particularly old school. Built in the late 70s, red brick, wide hallways, rows of lockers stretching into shadows. It had that odd, empty energy places get when they're meant to be full of people and aren't. But the first few nights were uneventful. I'd make my rounds, scan the checkpoints with my keycard, drink too much gas station coffee, and scroll my phone until sunrise. The weirdness didn't start until the end of my first week. It was 2:58 a.m., and I was walking past the East Wing, which housed most of the math and science classrooms. A row of windows looked out into the courtyard, dimly lit by a single flickering lamp. As I walked by room 107, one of the older classrooms, I heard something. A soft thump, like a chair being moved. I stopped, listened. Nothing. I stared at the door for a moment. The classroom was dark. Everything appeared normal. But something didn't sit right. I tapped my flashlight against my leg, then stepped closer. I cupped my hands against the glass and peered in. There was a shadow at the front of the class. A figure. It looked like someone standing at the blackboard, facing it, motionless. I blinked, stepped back. When I looked again, it was gone. I won't lie. My heart skipped. I pulled out my keys and unlocked the door, calling out a casual, "Hello?" Nothing. The light switch was just inside the door. I flicked it on and swept the room with my flashlight. Empty. Desks neatly arranged, the blackboard untouched, no signs of forced entry, no sounds. I checked the closet, the windows, everything was locked up tight. I wrote it off as a trick of the light. Maybe I was just tired. A couple more hours and I'd be off duty. But as I turned to leave, I noticed something odd. One of the desks was slightly pulled out, not much, just a few inches, like someone had pushed it back quickly. I could have missed it before, sure, but something about it. It looked recent, like someone had just gotten up. I didn't report it. Figured I'd just come back later with a fresh head. But then it happened again. The next night, same time, 3:03 a.m. This time, I was in the west hallway when my radio crackled. Just static, then a pop, then something else. It was quiet like whispering, a child's voice. I stopped walking, tried to make out what it was saying, but it was faint, indecipherable, and then it cut out. I called into base, just to check in, nothing major, and continued my rounds. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I was nervous. I found myself walking faster, checking over my shoulder. And when I passed room 107 again, the lights were on. I swear to God, I hadn't turned them on. I was sure of it. And this time, when I looked through the door window, I saw desks moving. Not wildly, not flying across the room, but slowly, deliberately, scraping across the linoleum like someone invisible was rearranging them. I unlocked the door again, rushed inside, and nothing. The lights flickered once and then steadied. The room was empty. The desks were off, not where they should have been. As if the room had been half rearranged for a test. I backed out, closed the door behind me, locked it, and stood there for a long time with my hand on the knob, breathing. Something was wrong with that room, and I wasn't the only one who thought so. 2 nights later, I brought it up with the janitor, an older guy named Terry who'd been with the school over 15 years. We were having coffee in the maintenance lounge when I casually asked if room 107 had any history. He didn't answer right away, just stared into his cup. Then he said, "You seen anything in there?" I hesitated. "I think so." He nodded slowly. "You're not the first." He told me about a substitute teacher, Miss Carter, who filled in one fall about 7 years back. Young, bright, new to the district. She was working late one night on lesson plans. The custodians found her the next morning, huddled under her desk, shaking. She couldn't speak for days. They said she quit teaching after that. No one knew exactly what happened, but rumor was she saw something that made her lose her mind. After that, teachers started refusing to use the classroom. So they made it into a supply overflow, only used when they absolutely had to. The district denied anything, of course, but everyone avoided room 107 after dark. I asked Terry if he ever saw anything himself. He just said enough. That night I avoided the East Wing altogether. I wasn't about to go back in there. But room 107 didn't care where I was. At 3:03 a.m., my radio buzzed again. Same whispering. Then my flashlight blinked out. Total darkness. My body froze. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Then, footsteps. Not mine. Fast. Light. Like someone running down the hallway barefoot. I shined my backup flashlight and saw no one. But there were wet footprints on the floor. Small. Child-sized. Leading toward room 107. That was when I decided I needed to see the security footage. I wasn't technically supposed to access it, but I knew the IT guy, Eric. He owed me a favor. We pulled the feed from the hallway outside 107 for the past few nights. What we saw. Each night at exactly 3:03 a.m., the classroom door opened, by itself. No one touched it, no one nearby. The door would creak open an inch, then two, then close. And once, on the third night, we saw a desk inside the classroom move across the floor, all on its own. Eric turned pale, said he didn't want to watch anymore. I asked him to pull footage from years ago, around the time that teacher supposedly had her breakdown. He managed to find archived footage. The timestamp? October 14th, 3:03 a.m. We watched in silence as a woman, Miss Carter, I assumed, sat at the teacher's desk grading papers. Everything was calm. Then the lights flickered. She looked up. The door opened slowly behind her, and from the corner of the room, something stepped into frame. A child. No, not a child. A figure that looked like a child, but too still. Its face, too blank. Miss Carter turned to it and froze. The thing just stood there. And then, she screamed. Loud, visceral, bone deep. She ran for the door. The video glitched, lines tearing through the image. And for a moment, a face filled the screen. It wasn't human. Eyes too wide. Mouth hanging open like it had no bones in its jaw. Then the footage cut out. That night, I tried not to think about it. I made my rounds, stuck to the admin wing, and kept away from the East Hall. But as 3:03 a.m. neared, my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. One word. Come. The timestamp? 3:02 a.m. I stared at the message, unsure what to do. Then, every light in the school cut out. All at once, I was plunged into darkness. And then, footsteps. Not running this time. Walking, slow, deliberate, toward me. I backed against a locker, flashlight raised, and around the corner came nothing. Just the sound. Then a voice, quiet, right behind me. Do you want to see? I turned. Nothing. But my flashlight flickered, and for half a second I saw the reflection in the locker door beside me. A girl, about 10 years old, wearing a torn school uniform. Black eyes. Not like bruises, just absence. I ran. Didn't care about my shift, the cameras, nothing. I left the building and called Terry. He didn't seem surprised. Told you not to poke around, he muttered. I demanded answers. He sighed and told me the story. In 1981, a little girl named Hannah was in 5th grade at Langford. Her mother was a teacher. One night, she stayed late, working on a project. She was supposed to wait in room 107 until her mom finished, but something went wrong. They found the door locked from the inside. When they got it open, she was gone. No signs of struggle, no broken windows, nothing. They never found her. Her mother left town a week later. But over the years, people started reporting strange things, whispers, shadows, sightings. Always in room 107. Always at 3:03 a.m. I quit the job 2 days later. Didn't wait for my last paycheck, didn't care. But sometimes, I still dream about that school, about that girl, and always, I wake up at 3:03 a.m.